So we're going to have a quick look at the metric system and unit conversions within it. The system was designed to make the actual calculations easy. So as long as you are able to multiply by 10, 100 or 1000, or divide by 10, 100 or 1000, you can do all the calculations. The trick is picking which one to do. So there are three little prefaces, bits of words that are defined and make things easy. So you have whatever your normal unit is for the context you're in. So this might be meters, but it could just as easily be grams, or if you're doing something more interesting, it could be watts, it could be a power, it could be all kinds of things. Now a centimeter or a centigram or a centiwatt is a smaller thing. It's exactly 1/100th the size. So 1 meter is the same as 100 centimeters. And 2 meters is the same as 200, 300, 400. So if you measure something and find it's 3 meters long, that's the same information as finding it's 300 centimeters long. They are the same thing, just counted in different ways. Here we're counting with 3 big sticks, here we're counting with 300 little sticks, but they total up to the same length. And that's just as true as 300 centigrams or centiwatts, which aren't a very common unit. And centigrams are certainly not common. But this relationship of 100 is an easy calculation to make. So if we have, let's pick these up that match here, 3 meters equals 300 centimeters. They are the same thing. Now if you just have the number and ignore the unit for a second, the calculation here is clearly multiplying by 100. So because centimeters are smaller, more of them fit in. And the calculation this way would be to divide by 100. So if we want to do something else, let's look at litres, shall we? Let's say I have something that is 4.28 litres. I would like to know how many centilitres that is. So we can either use this system here, where we just know that centilitres are smaller, and we've remembered that centi means 100, so 100 more must fit in. 4.28 multiplied by 100 is 428. Or you could check on the number line. 4.28 is somewhere here, so it's clearly going to be 400 and something. 4.28 and 428 match. Going the other way, why don't we use grams as we've had it already? Let's say something is 107 centigrams, which would probably be CG. What is that in grams? Well, to go from centi to standard, it's dividing by 100, because the standard one is larger, so not as many fit in. And that's an easy calculation because we know about our columns. That's 1.07. Again, on the number line, 1.07 is 107 is somewhere here. So the equivalent is 1.07. So you have to remember that centi is to do with 100, and they are 100 little things. So there are 100 little things fitting in the main one. That's what centi means. Now there's two other words you need to know, and there are a whole bunch other if you end up doing fields where you require more complicated things. So as well as centi, there's milli. Now milli is also small or little. That's a small suffix. So a millimeter is less than a meter. A milligram is less than a gram. A milliliter is less than a litre. The question is how many fit in? Well, the definition of milli comes from the French mille, is 1,000. So that means if you have 22 grams, or 22 litres, or 22 meters, they are going to be the same as 22 23,000 milligrams, or 23,000, or 24,000 milligrams, milliliters, or millimeters. And one of the good things about this system, the reason it was invented, was that these milli and centi words apply to all the units in exactly the same way. You haven't got to learn different rules for different units. Once you know what centi and milli mean, it always means that. So again, we've got this multiplying, dividing thing. That way means multiplying the numbers by 1,000. And this way means dividing the number by 1,000. So we'll do, why don't we do 24,128 millimeters. So ignore that dot. So we've got a large number of small things. 24,100 will be here somewhere. To come down here, or the down arrow is dividing by 1,000. So if we divide that by 1,000, we get 24.128 meters. So the tricky bit is supposed to be, or the new bit is deciding whether to multiply or divide by. Do we multiply or do we divide? If we look at some number of grams, let's say I have 8.13 grams. Well, in milligrams, milligrams are very small, so a lot of them fit in a gram. So they're going to be a large number multiplying by something, and because it's milli, we now know that is 1,000. So we'll multiply that by 1,000. 8.13 multiplied by 1,000 is 8,130 milligrams. So that's 2 of the 3 words down. We've got 1 to go. So we've had centi, which is 100 little things that fit in. We've got milli, which is 1,000 even smaller things fit in. And then we've got kilo, which is a large thing. So this is large. This is bigger than the standard one, and it's 1,000 times bigger. Most changes in this system are in fact thousands, but for some, but with centi is quite useful for meters sometimes because just the size it happens to be. So if I've got something that's no meters long, or 1 meter long, 2 meters long, 3 meters long, or 4 meters long, so this is our scale in meters, this is our scale in kilometers. So these are enormous things. 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. 2 kilometers or kilometers is 2,000 meters. 3 kilojoules is 3,000 joules. 4 kilowatts is 4,000 watts. So something over here being kilo and something over here being standard. So lots of our standard starting unit fit into a kilometre. And again, it's multiplying, dividing by 1,000. So that way happens to be dividing by 1,000, and that way happens to be multiplying by 1,000. You just need to learn and memorise which of these 3 words mean bigger or smaller, and which of these 3 things mean 1,000 or 100. So if something is 2.4 kilometres away, it's also some number of metres away. Well, metres are smaller than kilometres because kilometres are big, so it's going to be timesing by something. And kilo is a factor of 1,000, so it's going to be timesing by 1,000. 2.4 multiplied by 1,000 is 2,400. And the last one, if I've got some engine that's pumping out 13,250 watts, I could tell you that's pumping out some other number of kilowatts. Well, kilowatts are bigger than watts, so they're going to be fewer of them. So we're going to divide by something. We're going to divide by the correct number, which is 1,000. So that will be dividing by 1,000. While 13250 divided by 1,000 is 13.25. And if you want to, you can match it up on the number line. In fact, I'll put the 2.4 on. So 2.4 comes down here to 2,400. You can see it still matches up in the same scale. So you will just need to remember what kilo, centi and milli mean. And they're always going to be 100 or 1,000, and it's always going to be timesing or dividing. So as long as you work out which one is larger and therefore you don't need as many, or which one is smaller so you need lots of them, it should be doable. So I hope you can get that sorted, and I'll speak to you later in the week.